Jeremy Fowler's story from their notes around the combine. I kept reading it, taking notes on it, and then it kept going with more juicy nuggets after more juicy nuggets. And I basically had a page of notes off of this story. They did a great job with this. And one of the things that really jumped out at us, per Graz, that Kyler Murray and Geno Smith are in strong consideration for the Vikings QB spot, with Tua and Kirk Cousins on the radar as well. You know,
hold on, say that again.
Kyler Murray, Geno Smith for the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Cousins, Tua also on the radar for the Vikings.
Wow.
They wouldn't sign all of them, obviously.
Sure.
But they would potentially.
They could sign all of them. They still might not have a quarterback.
Well, that's interesting. And they're trying to cut salary cap space by either trading or releasing Aaron Jones, the running back, Javon Hargrave, the defensive lineman, as Adam Schefter reported over the weekend, that they are both going to either be released or traded before the league year starts. So of those names, are any of those guys a clear-cut upgrade over J.J. McCarthy? And could any of those quarterbacks potentially make them into contenders? Because if you think back a couple of weeks ago, Kevin Clark, This Is Football podcast, said on our show that he believes if Mac Jones were to go to the Minnesota Vikings, they'd be Super Bowl contenders. And if they would have an upgraded quarterback, anyone that could potentially win the NFC North is automatically a Super Bowl contender. Is there anyone on that list that would make them a contender?
I mean, you asked the initial question of, are those guys considered upgrades over J.J. McCarthy? I think all of them are.
Tua?
By the letter of it. Well,
I think they're telling you he is.
They've all guided teams to the postseason. Every single one of them, even Geno Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So by the letter of the law, they're better quarterbacks because they've taken their team to the postseason. Now, what they are now versus what they were when those seasons happened, that's a debate. That's a conversation that you could have. But I think the importance for the Minnesota Vikings here is to bring in somebody that does have some level of cachet, some level of credibility when it comes to playing the quarterback position. So the rest of your locker room can have confidence that if J.J. McCarthy doesn't develop properly this offseason, that there is somebody that they can pivot to that still allows them to aspire to being a team that can contend for a division title and be in the playoffs.
Yeah, remember how the Dolphins said everything was on the table when it comes to what they do with Tua moving forward? Mm-hmm. Doesn't it kind of feel like that same logic applies with the Vikings, that it feels like everything's on the table for them right now as they try to figure out this quarterback puzzle? And that tells me that they do not believe in J.J. McCarthy. If you're giving me those names and you're saying all of these guys who are available, could potentially be available, are on the table for them, that tells me that. And I'm not saying they're out on him long term, but at least for this season, they're saying he doesn't have it right now. This is going to be a longer project or we're going to move on from him. Because last year, it was completely different. Last year, even though they wanted to get something done with Daniel Jones and potentially Sam Darnold, they thought, well, we've got this guy. And he was injured. We invested in him from a draft perspective. And while he was injured, Kevin O'Connell spent extra time with him. He sat in on all the meetings. They felt like from an organizational standpoint that he had done enough of the work where it could be okay, and it was not. It was bad. 57.6% completion percentage, 11 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. It wasn't great, and he sustained injuries again. So the fact that they are going out there and thinking that a lot of these guys that could potentially be available could be an upgrade from him tells me a lot about how they're currently viewing him.
So sit back for a second and think about this. Of the quarterback situations that have 17 games available to them, the teams that would have 17 games available to a new starting quarterback next year of gettable guys, is this the best option? Is this the closest to a Super Bowl option? Right? So you're thinking about, like, the Chiefs don't have 17 games available. The Chiefs may have 2 or 3 before Mahomes gets back, right? Mm-hmm. We're saying everybody's healthy when they're supposed to be healthy. Who has 17 games available as a starter that could be better than this situation? Is Pittsburgh better? Probably not as of right now.
No.
Okay. Is Indy better? Maybe. We're going to probably hear news about Daniel Jones over the next 48 hours. It seems like transition tag, if they don't work out a deal, is what Graz and Fowler reported in this story. Mm-hmm. This is why I think
you're onto something here.
This is why we keep talking about the Vikings QB situation, because of the teams that may have listed on ZipRecruiter 17 games available to be a starting quarterback, this is the one where you can make up in your head, maybe, possibly, this thing breaks here, because you love the coach. Everybody loves O'Connell. You look at the defense, you're like, wait, they have Brian Flores. Brian Flores is still there. Yeah, he's still there. I mean,
Justin Jefferson.
They have an elite Hall of Fame level guy to throw the football to.
Solid offensive line. Yeah.
They've got the pieces.
There is going to be a reason, ladies and gentlemen, that Nuno and Pat and Cam and Jovante, every time they're putting the show sheet together, probably have the Vikings QB news right there, because there's no other team in the NFL as of this moment that you could envision 17 games available for a starter where if you're really good, you could get to the Super Bowl.
Okay, so feet to the fire of those 4 names that were thrown out there, who's the guy that you think is the best fit for Minnesota if they are going to win the division, if they're going to contend for a playoff spot?
Okay, so I would rank them. I'm struggling on 1 and 2. My 1 and 2 is a competition. Well, first of all, Aaron Rodgers would be my answer, but he's not.
He's not on this.
He's not on this specific list. So it would either be Geno or Cousins. I would have Kyler third, and I would have Tua a far fourth. Well,
I would have Tua last as well, but I'm surprised you'd put Kyler 3.
Yeah, I don't believe in him necessarily as a big-time starting quarterback. Geno, to me, has proven reliable professional. Like, I'm looking for a reliable professional. Geno Smith has become that. I understand that he stunk last year, but in this story, there was
I think a lot of people would have stunk with that Raiders
That's
team.
what they were saying. Yeah. There's a couple of nuggets in there about maybe it was more the Raiders' offense. And what's interesting is, Chip Kelly gets bounced. Chip Kelly has glowing things to say about Geno, which was interesting, I thought, because clearly it wasn't a professional click. Personally, they seem to get along fine. I would say either Cousins or Geno would be my number 1.
See, and while I hear what you're saying, you're thinking, how can I be risk averse in this situation? Whereas I'm thinking potential, which is why I would go with Kyler. Or at least I'd be really intrigued if I'm Kevin O'Connell by Kyler Murray. And maybe it's the Sam Darnold residue. Maybe it's, okay, we saw somebody who was drafted by a place that didn't have success with him. This person in Sam Darnold had that narrative of seeing ghosts, just like Kyler Murray has that narrative around him of the independent study clause, maybe not being as focused. You have somebody in Kyler that sustained injuries. We've seen flashes at times of the athleticism. I mean, this guy is an athlete, a pure athlete.
No
well, not what we're seeing
that was shown on
TV right now.
As she's doing this hype for him, is a shotgun snap.
Oh my gosh,
off
they
his
did
face.
me dirty.
Javonte just did you dirty.
So
it's Kyler
dirty.
Murray taking a shotgun.
Respected the play. I was like, okay, you're being very honest. Because they say, be honest about your ability to serve. And she goes, don't pick me. And if you do, I'll be hostile. Another woman was like, I don't believe in the jury system. Don't pick me. I'll be a terrible juror. I'm like, these people are going for it.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm like, I got a trip next week that I can't cancel.
They don't care about that.
Yeah. I was like, it's non-refundable. They're like, and? But I did not get selected. I think maybe what we do for work may have contributed to me not being selected. I don't know. Maybe
Sportsmanlike for the win. Let's go.
Maybe because we talked about it on national radio and TV. They're like, don't think that she'll be a great juror. She's a yapper. So unfortunately was not picked, but made some great friends and had some good experiences along the way.
What did you say made great friends? Define that exactly.
I have connected with 3 or 4 people from my juror pool on social media. I'm going out to get drinks with one of them when I get back from my trip.
What?
I made some friends.
So odd to me. You're just hanging out with random jurors. I still don't think you understand the process. In this last 2 minutes, you basically asked whether or not you could squeal on everything in the case, and you made it seem like all the jurors were armed. I don't think that you understand how to go about this.
They were armed with excuses.
Okay.
Nothing else.
All right. Yes, but
Sounds like they were ready to go, from my perspective.
They knew what was going down. They were smart.
Yeah.
So that was Friday. Saturday we had Elimination Chamber. It was great. When CM Punk came out to the Alan Parsons Project, right? I think it's what it's called. Sirius is what it's. I mean, what a move! What a move! And then Seth coming out there, and now we're gonna set up Cody Rhodes. Oh, Randy Orton wins the Elimination Chamber on the men's side, as we predicted on Friday. Rhea Ripley won on the women's side.
AJ Lee
won, beat Becky Lynch, made her tap out.